Hello, Senator Hough here for our weekly update. By now you may have heard about the brutal rape of a 14-year-old girl that occurred at Rockville High School by two illegal immigrants that shouldn't have been in this country. One was 18 years old, one was 17 years old. At least one of the suspects in the rape case illegally crossed the border and was detained briefly and then turned away. This tragic case illustrates why we must not turn Maryland into a sanctuary state for illegal alien criminals. This session, I introduced a bill in the Maryland legislature to require state and local law enforcement to cooperate with federal agents on immigration detainers. This would stop any counties or cities in Maryland from becoming sanctuary cities and counties. Unfortunately, my bill has languished, and instead terrible legislation has moved forward in the Maryland House to turn our state into a sanctuary state. According to one study, Maryland's illegal immigrant population costs the state's taxpayers more than $1.4 billion per year for education, medical care, and incarceration. This annual fiscal burden amounts to $894 per Maryland household. In addition to last week's brutal crime committed at Rockville High School, we've already seen a terrible increase in the problems that illegal immigration has caused in our state. I'll give you a couple examples. In 2009, Hector Hernandez, a Salvadorian illegal immigrant, pled guilty to the fatal shooting of an honors student at Montgomery Blair High School in Montgomery County. Hernandez had been detained earlier by county police for possession of a knife, but was released without his immigration status being checked. Also in 2009, a Liberian named Brigada Dionis, living in Baltimore, who should have been deported for crimes he committed in 2005, was allowed to stay in the country. And ultimately, he murdered two men in 2007. At his trial, the Baltimore Circuit Court judge said, quote, that Dionis should have been deported prior to these murders, there and, quote, then. The prosecutor said that the Maryland Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services, this was under the O'Malley administration, had, quote, dropped the ball, and that Dionis should have been deported, that, quote, this murder would never have happened. More recently, ICE reports arresting Jose Morales in Hyattsville, Maryland. Mr. Morales was a Guatemalan wanted by his native country for murder, war crimes, and crimes against humanity for his role in a massacre in that country. He was deported by ICE in January. I could go on and talk about the rise of MS-13 in Montgomery County and Frederick County and other parts. And if you're not aware, MS-13 is a violent street gang who's come from South America and brings with them brutal murders and tortures of their victims. But I ask you to share this video with your friends and family and ask them to all contact their Maryland senators and ask them to vote no on legislation that is currently pending that would make Maryland a sanctuary state. It's Senate Bill 835 and House Bill 1362. If these terrible pieces of legislation pass, Maryland will become a sanctuary state, and the kind of individuals that I just described here will be allowed to stay in our country and continue to commit heinous and terrible crimes.